Thank you very much. I think we are moving to more specific but critical issues with the last three speakers that can help us drill down on more specific issues. The first one I would address to Mr. De Luca, who is the board president of the Task Force Italia. And I would just notice that the economic situation in Italy, the economic development in Italy, has been very disappointing over the last quarter century. So it's a long-term affair. It used to be fifth in Europe in terms of GDP per head, and it's now 11th. And this has had serious social consequences. And I think that a widespread view is that this has been due essentially to unfavorable structural conditions. Now, the EU Recovery and Resilience Facility provides funds to Italy, but also asks changes, and also ask reforms. What I would ask from you, and I think everybody would be interested in your answer, is what is the importance of the funds and what is the importance of the structural changes? I mean, how much do we have to put the weight on one or the other? And then, maybe a bit more speculative, what is your view about the prospect of success of the Italian usage of the facility?
Thank you, Francesco, for your questions. Let me express my gratitude to the organizer for inviting me again this year. And I'm really honored to be part of the debate with such distinguished panelists. I'm representing Task Force Italy, that is a selected and independent group of high-level experts and managers that support governments and the private sector in relaunching economies and social inclusion. And let me start to put on the table a difference between the past financial crisis and the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. The first one, all the measures were applied with conditionality because we need to correct the mistake by policy actions and the macroeconomic imbalances that were eating our economics and to fragment our single market. Nowadays, the characteristic of this crisis is that governments are not responsible for what happened. So it means that there is no correction, there is no need of conditionality. And all these measures are legitimated by the laws or treaties and justified by the principle of solidarity. And solidarity is very important, not only because it is in our treaties, but also in a pragmatic way. Not the animal spirits, but the sentiment of solidarity has stabilized our financial market during the crisis. Say that, of course, we have to stress the fact that the spectrum of an excessive public debt is still around us and around Europe, and of course, it could be a big risk for the fragile economies of some countries. And so Italy, to come to my country, so Italy is facing a great opportunity on one end and a great risk on the other. As we know, all the measures were designed to support and benefit the countries that were affected by this pandemic crisis. And Italy was the first one, and the first one that was hit by that, and the first one that was supported with a huge amount of money. So the great opportunities is to modernize our state, to relaunch our economies with the green transition and the digital transformation. On the other hand, I see the great risk of an excessive public debt in the post-recovery the post-recovery situation. So the key words to how to be successful in combining funds, reform, and investment is to enhance a policy in action that is selective, that is responsible, that is efficient in combine not only the financial instrument with long-term investment, but by absorbing technical expertise, capabilities in implementing the complex plans and projects that come from transition, green transition and digital transformation. Because it is very easy to talk about digital transformation, greening economy, but how is complex to do so, in particular in some countries like Italy, and which is the gap between the short needs of decision and the urgent needs of decision and the long term of this complexity. So one of the key is also the role of the private sector that is very, very important in supporting our economics, also to building up public-private partnership and working with this, our European important institution. To give you an example of that, we are working as a Task Force Italia on some proposal measures, for example, about the modernization of our state. Europe asked to us the reform of justice and of course to reduce the time of judgment in civil and commercial disputes. So we are passing a law and measures that are based on the criterion of specialization. So to assign to the judge few cases in a specific subject so that the judge is able to become an expert on that specific field. Another measure very important is to build up an infrastructure, technological infrastructure that cover all the national territory and that use the technology of 5G that also can be able to prevent the digital exclusion. And about the role of the private sector is important. We are working on the electrification of public transportation by using technologies that not only will allow the speed, the safety and the security of the transportation, but also that reduce the CO2 of emission. So we have to combine technological expertise and political capabilities. And I think that Mario Draghi is the person that can synthesize these two elements that are very important to us. It's not my political opinion, but it's a matter of fact that the trust of the European organization and the markets is looking at this as an important value. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I take it as a statement of hope for our country.